Okay, welcome everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the planning board meeting of May 23rd. At this point, I'd like to take a vote for quorum. Ms. Creighton,
Here.
Ms. Delicio,
Here.
Ms. Foley,
Here.
Mr. Gilbert, not here. Mr. Olney,
I'm here.
Ms. Tenney, I don't think she's attending, and so we got 5 out of 7. You have a quorum. I'd like to remind all board members, guests to be recognized by the chair using the raise hand feature if they wish to speak. And this meeting's being recorded. The first item on the agenda is acknowledgement receipt of correspondence, and I have 5 items. Lorraine Iavoni, Planning Board Bylaw Forum, concerns comments received on 5/19. Lorraine Iavoni, correction email conforming lot by right underscored, received on 5/19. S. Thompson, proposed language for 7.6, received on 5/20. Lorraine Iavoni, May 17th, Planning Board Bylaws Forum, further concerns, received on 5/22. And JJ received 6/11, special town meeting proposed zoning vote, received on 5/23. Sharon, are there any others that I may have missed? Anyone know of any others? That's what I had on the list. They weren't on the agenda as we received them after the agenda was published. At this time, I would allow a public comments on items not on the agenda with a limited amount of time. Was anyone from the public care to speak? Not hearing any comments. I'd like to make an agenda change in order. I'd like, before we move into the zoning, I'd like to move the edits to the Cornerstone Church decision to this point in time. There are some administrative corrections. Sue, did you want to just go over them?
Sure.
Pretty de minimis.
Sure. I was contacted by the applicant or Alden Drake on behalf of the applicant a couple of weeks ago. He was noting that there were a few very minor corrections that should be made to the decision, one being his place of address. It was listed as Manchester, should have been Wenham. The number of parking spaces so that it correlates with the approved plan. We had 60, it was supposed to be 64. The confusion was that there were, or 64, and that there were going to be 4 of those we're changing it from 60 to 64 because as it reads, it says 60, and then 4 of which are ADA, and it should say 64, 4 of which are ADA, and then changing the square foot of the open age structure from 1050 to 1056 simply because the dimensions come out to 1056. So these are de minimis changes that just should be made in order to make the decision the same as the approved plans.
Okay, thank you, Sue. So we brought the changes to the town clerk. The town clerk wanted to make sure that we can make de minimis changes. So Greg opined that we should make sure that town council approves with that. So at this point, I'd like to make a motion to approve the diminishment changes subject to town council agreeing that it's okay way to deal with the correction of the minor clerical errors.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
If we're gonna vote on this tonight, the attendance should just be corrected.
Excuse me? Could you repeat that?
I don't think Gary's, like, there's a few people that probably will sign this, that's all I'm saying, right? I'm trying to switch back and forth. So remove Gary.
Yes, so as soon as I need to change a couple things, I'll need to put in who made the motion, who seconded, and put in the correct people that are available. So those are the changes that we'll make on the draft that you see. And the vote, yes. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I'll take a roll call vote. Ms. Creighton,
Yes.
Ms. Delicio,
Yes.
Ms. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Olney,
yes,
and the chair votes yes. So the motion passes, Sharon, 5-0. Okay, at this time, I'd like to continue the deliberation portion of the public hearing of May 17th on draft zoning bylaw changes. At this point, I'd like to have a motion to open the continued deliberation portion of the May 17th public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
take a roll call vote. Ms. Creighton,
Yes.
Ms. Delicio,
Yes.
Ms. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Olney,
Yes,
and the chair votes yes. At this time, I'd like to turn over the meeting to Vice Chair Sarah Creighton for discussion.
Hello, everybody. So just to be clear, we're trying to finalize our articles and motions for presentation at town meeting. We will not be taking public comment on the articles, but we will post the final motions and the articles on our town website and available with the town clerk. So what I put in our packet for tonight was a document with where it said May 23rd vote. I can share it. Votes for zoning changes. I thought it would be useful to separate out any additional changes we want to make to the articles, make them have a vote to advance the article to town meeting, approve the wording in the motion, and then voting to recommend, because those are not all the same thing. And I wanted to give people the opportunity to perhaps vote differently in those, on some of them, I suspect. So let's start with amendments on well, then let's just before I do that, let me tell you where we are. There are draft motions, draft articles that were in our packet, and Sue and Helene made a few typographical errors. I don't think there were caught a few typos. No substantive change, right, Sue? Am I right, Sue?
Yes, there are no substantive changes.
So the article, sorry, I'm missing my piece of paper that tells me what the articles are. Here it is. So hopefully all of you have the hard copy and know what we're talking about here. So the warrant, let's first take any proposed amendments to like motions 1 or articles 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sorry, I'm missing my piece of paper. Tells me what they are.
I just have a,
So let me clarify. So 1 is the replacement of sections 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 is amending the general bylaws. 3 and 4 are deletions and renumbering. So any amendments to 1, 2, 3, 4 in terms of the motion, or yes, Mary, go ahead.
Wasn't there added language from Mr. Borowski?
Yep, I showed you what that was, and I changed it in the draft. So final does have the his recommendations.
Yeah, so we haven't reviewed it as a board yet, so I'd like to read it and state some of my concerns with it. I guess the first being that it's coming in at the 11th hour. We've been part of this for the 2+ years, but it's saying for accessory uses, permitted accessory uses in all districts Accessory uses are allowed as set forth in the table of allowed uses. In addition, other accessory uses are allowed, provided they meet the definition of quote accessory use, which is quote, a use incidental and subordinate to the principal use and located on the same lot. Unless I'm reading this incorrectly, that could mean absolutely anything.
I believe he said that is to comply with the case law.
Do we have the case law?
I don't have it, but that's what we paid him to tell us. So that's what his advice was to us. We can choose to take it or not take it.
So I don't recall him giving that at a meeting that this was case law that he wanted to add. So my concern is that I do think this is opening us up to potential conflicts with neighbors of somebody builds an accessory unit and then perhaps has a business out of it very close to somebody else's lot. So again, I think this language is too wide open in my opinion.
So do you want to propose an amendment? This I'll share with this change was. Can you see
I
that?
guess my proposed amendment would be to take that out until we know exactly why he put it in.
I think he said case law, but I think that's why. I don't have any other information. Sue or Chris, do you know?
I'm just reading it over again I don't understand the objection. So give me one moment.
I do recall the conversation with Mark Bobrowski when he proposed this language. I don't recall if you were there, Mary, maybe you weren't. And I remember that what he was suggesting was that there are certain accessory uses defined in the law which should be able to be applied to any accessory use, as long as it's incidental and subordinate to the principal use. And that's why he suggested that this language be included.
I believe he also said that regardless of what language we have, the sentence he proposed is in fact what we would be held to if we were in court.
So I'll just reiterate my concern with this. If we are proposing to open up accessory dwelling units by right, and thus having no say over some of these uses and or some of these structures, then I think this is problematic.
Okay. Christina?
I guess on that same section, we talk about the definition of an accessory use, but we don't have accessory use in our definitions. Number one. Number two, we have two 4.3.1s. Don't know why. And so yeah, accessory use in the section 2. So section 2 is definitions, which we don't have a definition for accessory use. And I'm having trouble understanding the three categories here: permitted in all districts, non-residential uses, and residential. So if someone can explain this to me, I feel like we're spinning here. So I'm not sure. Oh, do we have 3 different districts or 3 different? So 4.3.1, permitted accessory uses in all districts, fine. Then 4.3.1, again, that needs to be fixed. Non-residential accessory uses, where is this?
That would be for a commercial building in the general district or possibly the limited commercial district.
So why don't we say that?
Well, I think it does say that.
Okay, let's take them one at a time. Clearly, we need to renumber. That's administrative. Let's take this first one. I think
Sarah, may I offer something?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I didn't know if you could see my see my hand.
Sorry.
I just wanted to clarify something for Mary. Her objection about this somehow impacting the ADUs. That might be true if ADUs did not already have their own set of regulations, but since they do have their own set of regulations, that would cover this. So this doesn't change anything in the rest of the bylaw. And if the ADU bylaw is passed, then they would need to comply with that. Does that make sense? So this isn't somehow granting greater flexibility for accessory dwelling units because they are fully and wholly defined and regulated by the ADU bylaw itself.
I think in the ADU bylaw, we do kind of say, or in our, dwelling bylaw of, I forget the term it's under, but what's kind of, allowed uses in a house, it could be seamstress and, it goes into those types of things. And then this kind of says any accessory use. So, to me, that broadens the scope of what, you would do in your own home. You could potentially, have a seamstress business, or you could be working from your home, for your office, or you could do all sorts of things. But this is saying anything that's incidental to the primary use. So I don't see where that's clarified.
Can I suggest that the first amendment we take is that we define accessory use in our definitions as Mr. Bobrowski has defined it here. I'm going to put a carriage return here. I would use this use except in our definitions. Accessory use is a use that is a use incidental and subordinate to the primary use and located in the same lot. And if we add that to our definition section in 2, can I suggest that we start there? And then that takes that off the table.
Is that a motion, Sarah? If
So
it is,
I'd like a motion to do that.
I'll
moved.
move that we define accessory use as a use incidental and subordinate to the principal use and located on the same lot.
Okay. I see here, Ron, you second. Any other
Second.
question about that piece? I'm hearing none. Ron,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes,
Mary,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. So 5-0. Okay, great. Thank you. So that I'll move that to section 2. And then Mary, I think I heard you make, we could debate this all night, right? We're trying to move this along. Mary, do you want to make a motion to leave the prior language and strike Mr. Bobrowski's language? That's to leave it as it was. I will unstrike it so you can see it, reject the deletion, and delete what we have here. So the language, go back to what we had before. I'm trying to help move this along. That what we had before, allowed permitted accessory uses are defined by the table of uses, and all districts accessory uses not listed in section 4.3.2 or in the table use are prohibited. And we would ignore Mr. Bobrowski's advice on this and deal with it in court. Or I shouldn't editorialize. Would you like to make a motion to that effect?
I make a motion to keep the existing language and hold off on Mr. Bobrowski's proposed language until we have further clarification.
Okay. I'd like to second that, actually. So any other discussion?
I have something. Why can't we say both? Are the two and they're not in conflict with each other?
I read the top one as saying, if it's defined within our table, it's allowed in the accessory use. I read the bottom one as saying it could be anything.
Only if they meet the definition of accessory use.
So I'm going to suggest, I would like to, even though I actually would really like to see us adopt Mr. Bobrowski's, I would more like to see us have unanimous agreement on this section and move it forward to the public with unanimous, what I hope will be unanimous approval. So I'm going to urge us to leave it as it was. That's because I would really like, that's number, to me, this, that replacing this, getting this table in section 4 updated and being able to go with a united front on this issue seems to me to be my primary objective. So that's why I'd like to see us agree.
I have some concerns going against our paid expert on this.
Yeah.
You know, if he's citing case law, I mean, why are we? You know, we paid for professional advice and to clean these things up, and we're not going to take his advice. Is that where we're heading on this?
That's the motion before us.
Well, Ron, I would obviously with common sense agree with you, but I don't understand why we've had public hearings, we've been at this for 2+ years. And after all of that, then he inserted this. So I'm unclear why.
He did say it at the review of this and said that we should, but he did, you're right, he did not give us any comments on things until recently. I mean, I keep a folder of things for the future. And if we strike lines 504 and 505, I will put this issue in that folder for sure.
I agree, it's a bit broad. So I would like to see it stay until we have further clarification. Not saying that I'm opposed to it in the future, it just doesn't seem.
All right, let's, so there's a motion on the table to leave it as we had previously written. Chris,
No,
Ron,
No.
Mary,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes,
and I'll vote yes. Okay, so we'll leave it as it is. I'm gonna cut that. Okay. Any other comments on section 1?
Sarah, you have Alan Wilson has his hand up.
Alan, go ahead.
Perhaps he's going to ask if we need him. That's my suggestion that he's going to ask.
Ron, with his usual perceptiveness, has asked exactly the question I was going to ask. I'm happy to stay on if it'll be helpful, but these are levels of detail that I have no use for. I mean, you have no use for me for, excuse me.
All right, we can always call you if we need you.
Yeah, absolutely. Call or text anytime.
Okay, let me just ask, does anybody have a question about the issue, the difference between the articles and the motions? Is everybody clear on that? Because that is a question that Alan can help us to.
Yeah, I would be happy to help with that.
tell us, Ellen.
Okay, I think we're all set. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Carry
great.
on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion or motions on Article 1, which is to replace sections 1, 2, 3, 4? Mary?
Looking at the swimming pool one again, we've never really discussed if there's any difference between an above ground pool and an in-ground pool with fencing or landscape perimeters and things like that. So do we feel like this is a catch-all for all swimming pools, or have we just focused on the in-ground pools? Having walked around town just the other day and I saw an above ground pool, so it.
Are you making a motion, Mary, or asking a question?
I'm just asking a question right now. And maybe it's more for Sarah Mellish, but you know, I'm not clear on what the building inspector's process is for making sure that lot coverage requirements are met with, when it's out of the context of the ZBA. So I guess that's one question. And then the other question is that is a 4-foot fence going to do anything for an above ground pool?
I think the fence is around the pool perimeter rather than the, I would suggest that that it hasn't come up so far. So taking the argument from the prior discussion, that we put it on the future list is whether or not we need to define it one way or the other. That would be my recommendation, but if you want to make a motion one way or the other, that's fine. Okay, hearing nothing else. Christina?
So I guess I have, reading the entire, new changes in entirety. I'm concerned that we don't have a definition for parking space. We, add things. And I have seen situations around town. And so a parking space could be 3 tandem spots. So I don't think that that's what we want. I think my other concern without defining parking space and without defining green space is that entire yards are going to be, especially if ADUs are by right, are going to be turned into parking. You can do this with one curb cut. I'm just not sure if we've taken the time and really tried to figure out what these unintended consequences are. So without determining what green space we expect with ADUs long-term being built, detached, and what's the definition of a parking space?
So we do define parking space. Off-street parking spaces shall be designed with a minimum dimension of 9 by 18 feet.
That's it, just as the size. So that just means it could be 3 tandem spots. So my concern is,
Do you have a,
I actually do.
Okay.
I do, but the chat's disabled. So I was going to put it in the chat, but
it's fine. Okay, so that is in section 6. So can we focus on 6 unless we need to make a definition in section 2? Is that where you planning on making? Is that where you want to make it? Or?
I wanted it in definitions. I
Okay.
thought we were doing sections 1 through 4, right?
Yeah, you're right. Okay. I'll be happy to add that proposal. Okay. Parking space.
Can you disable the chat for a second or no?
I don't know if we can. I think it was probably set up without chat.
I got it. It's open.
Wait a minute.
I don't know if you're gonna like it, but this is what is
I can
Winchester's
turn it on.
bylaw. It's basically that you can't, this is in Winchester's. And obviously we can change it to 9, what our dimensions are. I just copied word for word for what Winchester had. So basically you can get to and from the parking spot without claiming it's a 3, it's narrow driveway, and claiming that an extra parking spot is tandem. I mean,
So we say now a parking space minimum is 9 by 18. So 9 by 18 would be
we can just say 9 by 18. I'm fine with that. 9 feet by 18 feet.
160.
That's fine. Yeah.
So I would say can I just refer let's not have we don't have, in case we change it, we don't have it changed. 6.1.2.
Makes sense.
Okay, so this is are you making a motion to add parking space to definitions?
Yes.
So do I have a second?
Second,
I don't think I have, any other discussion? Take a vote, Mary,
yes,
Christina,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes,
Chris,
Yes,
and I'll vote yes. Okay, just have to figure out where to save this stuff. Hold on. What's our date today, May?
Third.
Okay, any other changes to sections 1 through 4, Article 1?
So I actually have a question about, this is my concern, so I just want to clarify what we think the answer is. Section 3.4.2, actually, it's the split lots. So we do pull out at the end, this provision shall not apply to residents D2. So my question is, what provision does apply to D2? The old bylaw had it that it was the lot that had the most area prevailed. No. I think we leave this too open. That's all my concern is here.
I think the prior bylaw had it, whichever you had the most property in. Those bylaws superseded.
In this case, it's they're applicable to the larger part of the area of such lot.
Can we just clarify that then?
Anybody have a suggestion of, I think this has been out there. This has not been changed for a long time.
I know, but when you read it through like one last time, it ends right there. So where do you go for that answer? There's nothing to go back to.
so what are you proposing? We could just delete it.
Well, delete what?
This provision shall not apply in the residence district D2.
No, that we need that. That was, 2 is the heater, which is divided into 2, but pretty much the entire heater transcends 2 lots. Well, the properties on B and D.
So Christine, are you asking so that if it excludes D2, what are D2's rules?
That's kind of my question. So my D2's rule should be,
Yes, why is D2 any different?
because it's pretty much the only district that is every property in D2 this affects. And so this will change the zoning drastically of the properties that abut B. So Mary, mine, everyone on the heater, they have like 5 feet of B and then the rest is D. So this is changing what they can do from before drastically. This is a huge change. And this is why D2 is in there.
So
I guess, are we clear that that's enough? I'm just throwing it out there. I'm okay with leaving it. I just want to know what then does apply.
this predates me. You guys did this.
I don't know.
I think it was a concern before. We had a fair amount of discussion around it, but nothing ever resolved.
Well, except that we've had this exact language out here for months. So
We can leave it. I just think it's open-ended. It's not resolved. I mean, it doesn't.
can I put this on the list of things to look at in the future? I don't think,
we're leaving it. I mean, D2 needs to stay there, but I mean, we'll figure it out later. That's fine.
I'll put this on the list. I think that's what, 3.4.2. Okay, I'm gonna add that to my list for the future. Future. 3.4.1. What about? Okay. Any other things in in Article 1? Okay.
So not article, I guess, yeah, Article 1. Conversion of a two-family. What's the definition of conversion?
What is the definition of what? Conversion?
Conversion.
Turning one thing into another is a conversion.
We don't define it. So my question is, does that include additions? Is conversion additions?
Could be.
I mean, huh?
I think it could be if it complies with zoning.
Well, I think that's different than what, I mean, the heater D1, D2, that was supposed to be for converting single family homes into without major additions, right? So my question is, does conversion of a one family dwelling to a two family, does that mean you can knock it down and build a new? That doesn't mean conversion to me. I feel like that definition is different.
But you could build a two-family from the ground up if you had nothing on the lot, right? In that district. Why is it any different?
Why are we saying conversion? I just think it's misleading. To me, the purpose of this whole thing was to convert single families, not to build new. So my question is, what does convert mean?
Well, you'll have to ask the people who drafted it 30 years ago, I imagine. But I think they probably would have allowed you can abandon your house, tear it down and build on the same footprint. So if you want to make it a two-family after you do that, that's fine.
So this is language that's in the existing bylaw. So we have said that we are largely leaving intact the existing bylaw and just converting it to this table.
Okay. I know we're just trying to clean this up and answer questions.
That's all right.
What does
Okay.
this mean?
That's the question right here. Okay, Mary, you have another comment?
Well, so what it currently says is conversion of a structure that existed as of May 6, 1991. So that doesn't mean
So
that's not build new. That means that if there's an existing structure and you're converting it into something else. So
here we go.
I don't want to
Right here.
speak for
But-
Christine, but I
said.
think as we're going through this, if the intent is to clarify,
Yep, let's, this is reflected exactly as you describe in the note, which is in the table. So the table has note 3, and it says here how the conversion to family units of structures existing on the lots of 1990 prior to that date does not involve any increase in the size, height, or volume, etc. So that's right out of the existing bylaw.
I think the concern being is that conversion perhaps is not defined anywhere in this new draft. And if we're, again, fine tuning and cleaning up, perhaps we should define it.
Would you like to define, will somebody make a motion to define conversion, please?
I don't, this just came up, so I haven't looked it up. I don't have a definition on me.
Well, maybe this should be another thing to put on the list for the next town meeting.
And add it to that.
I just want to, like, I felt thing on this table, municipal uses. Mr. Bobrowski suggested that municipal uses weren't in all, that we should maybe put some special permits. We kind of glossed over that. I just want to make sure that we're thinking long and hard, that we want all these municipal uses in every district. I mean, the argument is right now to move the DPW out of a residential district into the LCD. So, I mean, if that's the rationale behind doing that, why are we still saying yes, yes, yes?
Didn't we vote this table already?
Yeah, we did. I don't.
I don't know why we're going back over this again.
Yep. So, Mary, Christina, which?
Yeah, all right. Yep, the table's voted. Never mind, my bad. All right, let's go.
All right.
That's it for that.
Okay, so on Article 1, which is the use table as amended with the sections 1 through 4, with the use table, no, excuse me, the amendment that Mary proposed for accessory uses, and the additional definition of parking space and accessory use, as those are the amendments. Okay. I'll have a motion to, so what I'd like to do. All right. If somebody would be, so this is the define parking space, accessory use, and strike the the MB change on accessory use. Okay, so would somebody like to make a motion to, in an ideal world, do all three, advance the article, approve the wording in the motion, and recommend this article? I'd like to, would somebody be willing to do all three, please?
I'll make that motion.
Can we be clear in the motion which articles, for Sharon's purposes, we're doing, because
Yep.
I make it clear which the numbers.
So this is to approve Article 1 with amendments, which includes sections 1 through 4 of the zoning bylaw.
Yep. Okay, Chris moves, and do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, any other discussion?
Is
This is
this the vote clear simply to say to move it to town meeting?
I'd like to see it, do we, if we can,
Well, this is 3 steps, right?
Yeah. all right, let's do them in 3 steps to move to town, the article to town meeting. Ron,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes,
Christina,
Yes,
Mary,
Yes,
and I vote yes. Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the wording in the motion. Can I get, I'm gonna just copy these. I'm hoping, Chris, you can make the motion, and Ron, to make it easy. Ron, you'll second.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Any other discussion on the wording in the motion? Okay, Chris,
Yes,
Ron,
Yes.
Christina,
yes,
and Mary?
yes,
Okay, and then I'll take a motion, Chris, to recommend Article 1.
I move that we recommend Article 1 to the town meeting.
And Ron, can I get a second?
I will second that.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, Christina,
yes,
Mary,
no,
Ron,
Yes again.
Chris?
Yeah, I already voted yes.
Oh, sorry. Christina, did I get you? Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Just you,
Sorry,
Sarah.
sorry. Trying to get this, okay. Article 2, which is amend the general bylaws. Any proposed amendments?
I don't recall that we actually went over them all. We didn't go over stormwater management. It was noted that there was updates or changes, but I'm still unclear what those changes are.
So track changes shows the latest changes from when we last discussed it. It's in the May 18th folder. I think the changes are all to bring the stormwater up to, they were all at the recommendation of Chuck Dam to bring the, he's under I don't know if it's requirement, it may be the wrong word, to bring this up to, in compliance with the requirements for state law. So I think that's all we did was he told us what changes to make and we did it.
So the only track changes, at least in my version, were,
The track changes are since we last discussed it. Track changes, the May 18th are just since we last discussed it.
when did we discuss them?
I don't have the date.
Okay, I'm just saying, I was never involved in the discussion, so I still don't have a version of what the major changes were.
Mary, would you like to make a motion?
I'm asking for some,
So you had helped us with this. Can you summarize the changes? I may be able to pull them up. If you go to the old, if you go on the pre 18. I've been tracking everything, so. So I think the big change here is to move stormwater. The biggest change in actuality is to move curb cuts, junk cars, and stormwater to the general bylaws. That's the big change. The other changes are procedural.
I mean, the reason I'm asking is because I want to understand that we have a clean version before we pass these over to the Board of Selectmen. I mean, they will be taking over these bylaws and I mean, maybe they've already gone through them. I don't know. You know, it's not as if we're just taking our current bylaws and passing them over. They've been changed. So I just want to make sure we've
Yep,
done
I
our due
think
diligence.
in this case, we relied on our planner to make the changes and we've had them out there. I haven't received any comments from anybody. Helene did some, you know, proofreading changes, but other than that, I think we ran them by Chuck Dam. Is that correct, Sue? She might not be there right now.
I think Sue's with us.
Sue ran them by Chuck Dam and if anybody has any specific changes from tonight's version.
And I tend to accept the professional engineer's opinion on stormwater changes. I think, you know, we're not engineers. So I would think Chuck's comments are valid and we should accept them.
Okay. Any specific amendments to Article 2 moves to the general bylaws? All right.
Just to defend Mary's point, I don't think that we're arguing with that Chuck isn't the expert. We just wanted to know what the changes were.
But they're in I have been tracking this, you know, there's like 5 different versions and I know it's hard to track, but I've been doing my very best to keep you guys up to speed on what the latest versions are with track changes. So I'm sorry that we don't have all the changes tracked for tonight, but that's, you can either laid them side by side or we took what he wanted for changes. So I think at this point, hearing no specific changes, I ask for a motion to advance the article to town meeting.
So moved.
Moved.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other discussion? This is for Article 2, the moves to the general bylaws, to advance it to the town meeting. Hearing no other discussion, I'll take a vote. Ron,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes,
Mary,
Yes,
Christina?
This is for all of them, correct?
Yes.
No.
Okay, and I vote yes.
Motion carries one.
Okay, and then to approve the wording in the motion. Chris, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Ron, do I have a second?
Second,
Any other discussion? Chris,
Yes.
Ron,
yes.
Mary?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Okay, and Christina?
No,
Okay, and I vote yes. And then to
Motion
recommend,
carries 4-1.
recommend these motions. Chris, do I have a motion?
I move that the motion be endorsed by the planning board.
And do I have a second?
That's second,
Any other discussion? Mary,
Yes.
Christina,
no,
Chris,
Yes.
Ron,
yes.
Sarah votes yes. Okay, thank you. Going on to Article 3 and 4, I'm hoping those are just the renumbering and the deletion of the sections to reorder things. This would be deleting the sections that did move to the general bylaws and renumbering sections 6.1 to 7 and 7 to 12. Any other discussion on 3 and 4? Hearing none, I'm going to ask if we can do a motion for all of these together. A motion, I'm looking for a motion to move Article 3 and 4 to town meeting to approve the wording in the motion and to recommend their approval for
So
Articles
moved.
3 and 4.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second,
say Article 3 and 4.
Yes. 4 is the renumbering. Renumber 6.1 to 7 and 7.
Just did 3 though.
Pardon me?
We already did 3.
No, we haven't done 3 yet. 2 is general bylaws.
motion's been made and seconded, and they can have discussion now.
Okay. All right, everybody clear what we're voting on? So Article 3 is to, is Sue, are you still here?
Christine, you might be thinking that we voted on section 3.
Yes, yes. Section 3 was part of Article 1. You clear what we're voting?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, Ron, I'll take vote.
Yes on all three, if that's what you're doing.
I'll 6 actually. Chris,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Christina,
No,
okay.
And the motion carries 4-1.
Carries. Okay. All right, a motion for section 12. This is section 12. Article 5 is section 12 administration. Any amendments for that? There was a change, a minor change from Mark Bobrowski. Do you want me to call that, bring that up?
Please.
Okay. I think I'm just doing it by memory at this moment. I'm a little brain dead on this.
was it the immediate family member?
No, that's different. That's, oh, this was, forget who recommended this. I just to be clear, in its, we did this last meeting.
We had administration or non-conforming uses.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. That's wrong. Huh, interesting.
Coming up in the wrong file.
So there was in one of the folders, article, I forget,
Seven,
Article
yeah.
5 was actually 7 or vice versa.
That's right.
Okay, sorry, let me pull up. Oh, my God. I've tried so hard to have my computer renames things when I save them, so, okay. I don't have it track changed, I'm sorry.
Do you remember what he changed?
It was in the note, is Sue there?
Compiled list is the section 6, right? It was traffic standards is what the notes say, but
Yeah, that's not what it was. Motion.
yeah.
I think it was,
I think we're looking at 5.
yeah, we're looking at 5. I'm looking for I think it was,
So his notes say no change.
okay, no change then. That's what I just,
The memo that Sue compiled with all of his notes says no change.
okay, then there is no changes. That's probably why I renumbered it. Okay, so any other conversation or proposed amendments for Article 5, which is Section 12? Sharon,
I just wanted to know, why are we making 3 motions for every single article? We don't need to do that.
well, we do actually, because we want to put it on the warrant. And then we need to be clear about the motion, which is different than the article. The article is a summary document that says to consider this, and the motion is the details. And some of us may want to allow the town to weigh in on it, but not actually recommend it.
Okay,
Tedious. And it's unusual, but given that not everybody is in agreement on these things, I think it's helpful.
Okay.
And the article is a summary of the, it is not the language of the motion.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Okay, I'll take a motion to move section 12, article, as in our numbering right now, Article 5 to town meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Yeah, I second.
any discussion about moving this to town meeting? Chris,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Do you want to talk about, are we going to move on to the motion language?
Yes, the motion language.
I move that be approved.
Okay, I think we have agreement on this one. Can we move the motion,
Oh,
the motion
and-
and the approve and to recommend it?
and recommendation, sure. I'll move they both be approved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Great. Any other discussion? Christina,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, great.
Motion carries.
Sharon, I will give you this table when we're done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, on to to Article 6, Section 6. Any proposed amendments? I think I will say for the record that there are some things in Section 6 that are on my personal list of things to talk about in the future, like signs and maybe lighting standards, but I think Chris and Laura did a great job of advancing it and tidying it up. So take a motion to advance Section 6, Article 6 to town meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, any discussion? Christina,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes,
Ron,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes,
and I vote yes. Okay, do I have a motion, Chris, for the approve the wording of the motion and to recommend this?
so moved.
Okay, Ron, second.
Second.
Hopefully everybody can, we're okay if we add them together. This is to approve the wording in the motion and to recommend its passage. Any discussion? Okay, Mary?
no, I don't recommend.
Okay, let's, okay, Christina?
Yes.
Okay, Ron?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes,
And I vote yes. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. The next one, Chris and I thought about we received a comment from, I forget who.
Thompson.
Yes, by email. And she proposed this language in red, and we thought it was, Chris, do you want to speak to it?
So basically, this has to do with the abandonment of a non-conforming use. And after what the law says, after 2 years, if you don't do anything, you lose your right as a non-conforming use. And what this is saying is, however, by a special permit, the zoning board of appeals could reestablish a non-conforming use. And the reason for that is once a non-conforming use is abandoned for 2 years, it cannot be, it just dies forever unless this language is approved. And we thought there might be some circumstances where I think somebody talked about the beloved market on the corner somewhere that might be abandoned for a couple of years, and somebody wants to bring it back. The neighborhood wants to do it, and the Board of Appeals can't allow it because the non-conforming use has been extinguished. So this is just an escape valve.
That actually was in ours originally. I'm looking at that. Let me just, I think we took it out.
I don't think so.
Oh, it actually was in ours already. Sorry. That is what we had originally. So no, I guess we're saying no amendment.
Oh, all right, I didn't know it was in there.
Yep, this is the, so I withdraw that and we'll withdraw our amendment.
Yep. What have we got on the screen here?
Sarah, we're looking at some kind of bill.
Sorry. Sorry. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah,
You could pay my bills during.
oh, good, it is in there. All right.
Okay.
Mary has her hand up, Sarah.
Mary, go ahead.
So the email that you're referencing, I believe her concern was that it was potentially maintaining commercial uses within residential districts. And so her recommendation was to clarify that that would not apply to residential.
That was in my recollection, but I could be wrong.
Let's bring it up. I think I have it.
You have our language, Mary?
I don't have it in front of me, no.
I think I can get it.
What was her name again?
Thompson.
Thompson. Yeah. Jesus, look at all these. Here we go. Can you see this?
Yes.
So, provided however, the special. Be applied to general commercial district and not residential zones, correct?
So
Oh, I see what
if
you're
you're
saying.
looking for input, I agree with that. I think that makes sense that, you know, those type of examples would happen within the general district. And if we clarified not residential, I believe that's what she's asking.
I was thinking about that today, though. I mean, one of the things that we have in this case is that, you know, I went and got my teeth cleaned in a residential district today, and that those uses, you know, it's like part of the fabric of our community is that we don't have, that we have some accessory uses among our residences, and that's, I don't know, I don't feel strongly one way or the other.
I think if it's by special permit, that should be protecting the neighborhood pretty well, I would think.
Why don't we say unless by special permit?
But it says,
That's what it says.
Okay,
so we opened up Pandora's box here, Chris.
Yeah, sorry.
Any amendments on section 7? We're withdrawing ours.
I would potentially like to make an amendment that in 7.5, where it says that somebody can by right change a non-conforming structure up to 100%, be striked. This came in front of town meeting in 2016 and then again in 2017. First started out with 25% and it was denied, and then it went up to 50% and it was denied. And now we're bringing it a third time at 100%. I don't think we're listening to residents' voices saying they don't want this by right.
But to exclude, to not put an upper limit is to, I think the idea of 100% is that you could add a second story.
Correct, but currently we have it as a special permit, and I believe we should keep it that way.
But isn't your, so therefore your objection is really to the whole premise of this section, regardless of whether, what this percentage is. Am I correct?
Probably looking at it in its entirety for it to be as by right. Correct.
Yeah, so I think that, I mean, if we change this, Mary, to 50%, would that change your vote on recommending this?
Good point, probably not.
Okay. Okay, any other possible changes or amendments? Hearing none. I'll take a motion to gonna get rid of this. Take a motion to move this to town meeting.
We have to
We are
vote the
discussing
amendment.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Sharon.
We have to vote the amendment first.
No, amendment, we actually are withdrawing the amendment.
Okay,
No, but Mary, I think Mary's making an amendment. No?
Withdrew that as well because it's not going to change her.
Oh, didn't, okay.
Okay.
Unless, I don't want to take words out of your mouth, Mary. Do you want to make an amendment?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
You did actually vote that 100% already. I brought that back to the full board because we did not, anyway, we did vote that 100% previously. I'll just.
Oh,
point that out.
and
Doesn't mean
I'm,
can't.
I was a dissenting vote, but I just, yeah, I mean, I was, agreed.
Agreed. Yep, I recall. Okay. All right, I'll take a motion to advance Article 7, Section 7 to town meeting.
So moved.
Um, Ron, do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, any other discussion? Chris,
Yes,
Ron,
yes,
Mary,
No,
Christine,
No,
and I'll vote yes.
the motion passes 3-2.
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the wording of the motion. Is that a Chris?
so moved. Yep, so moved.
Second,
Any other discussion? Chris,
Yes,
Ron,
yes,
Mary,
no,
Christina,
no,
and I'll vote yes. And then to recommend this, Chris, do I have a motion?
yes, so moved.
Okay, any other discussion? Mary? Mary, to
Right.
recommend, vote to recommend this article. I'm sorry?
still Article 7?
Yes.
Yeah,
No,
Okay, thank you. Christina,
no,
Ron,
yes,
Chris,
yes,
and I vote yes. Okay, great, thank you.
Motion
Article 8 is adult entertainment. Any amendments to adult entertainment section?
I'm sorry, I just want to jump in. I want to make sure that the minutes reflect that Mary did pull up 2016, 2017, went from 25 to 50, that town denied it, and that we are not listening to the people. I just want to make sure that's in the minutes. Thank you.
we voted this already.
I'm just saying.
I think that's fine. It's a matter of opinion. Okay, great, thank you. Section 8, adult entertainment. Any amendments, Mary? You have your hand up.
no amendments, but I didn't have a chance to print this one out. I just wanted to make sure it was changed to planning board. from-
It was, yes, thank
Okay.
you. It was, I will double check that. I'm sure it was. Planning board is the special permit agency. Yes, okay, do I have a motion to both advance the article, approve the wording in the motion, provided it says planning board is the special permitting agency, and to recommend its approval?
so moved.
Ron?
Second,
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? Ron,
yes,
Chris,
Yes,
Mary,
Yes,
Tina,
Yes,
and I vote yes. Okay, good, thank you. No adult entertainment unless we have to, that'll be a fun special permit. Okay. All right, now we get to the fun ones. Any amendments, proposed amendments on residential conservation cluster, section, Article 9, section 9.2.
just the ones that we made last week.
I believe those all got in there. Okay, Chris, do I have a motion to move this article to town meeting?
so moved.
Ron?
second,
Okay, any discussion? This is about just having the town vote on it. And I'll just make a comment on this, which applies, in my opinion, to the next, all three of these last ones. And that we've been bantering these things around. I mean, first of all, residential conservation cluster exists already, and I think that this is an improvement, but we're bantering these things around. And I think it's a good thing to move them to the town so the town can have an opportunity to vote on them. So, any other discussion? Okay, to move to this residential conservation cluster, Mary, go ahead.
My only other discussion with that is that we have discussed a lot with these, the residential conservation cluster, the accessory dwelling unit and senior housing, though with these and with other bylaws, I do not think we've done our due diligence with studies, impact to schools, water, sewer. We don't have the data. That's my concern.
So noted. Okay. Okay, we have Christina.
And just to follow up on that, we've been asking Mr. Bobrowski, the town staff, for examples of ADUs, RCCs in each district. It just hasn't been provided. So just to follow up on that.
Okay, great. We have a motion to move this to residential conservation cluster to town meeting. Any other discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote. Ron,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes,
Christina,
No,
Mary?
I don't think it's ready. No.
Okay, thank you. And I vote yes. Okay, I'm thinking that we can probably do these two together. Chris, do I have a motion to
well,
advance?
we
the wording in
approve
motion?
the language of the motion and recommend to the town meeting.
And Ron, do I have a second?
That's seconded.
Okay, Christina, any discussion? Christina,
no,
Mary,
No.
Ron,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes,
and I'll vote yes. Okay. Thank you. Senior housing, any changes? Mary,
I think you added a big change that we haven't discussed yet. For the limited commercial district.
I think we remember Chris and I were asked to come up with some language for the limited commercial district, and we did do that. I think I sent an email about that, but we can certainly pull that up.
So with that added, I don't know what senior oriented facilities mean. We don't define that. I can assume what it is, but I don't know what that means. I mean, that could be everything from, well, I guess, what does that mean?
Well, I think
it's defined in our definitions.
Well, I think senior housing is defined, but I didn't see senior oriented.
but assisted living, long-term care, nursing, senior housing facility are defined. And don't forget, this is a special permit. And I guess it was an attempt to try to address the fact that we wanted a comprehensive, progressive kind of care, or not just townhouses in the LCD. That was what we were trying to address. So if you have a suggestion for alternative language.
Well, for me, if it was clearer saying that it, senior, I guess if somehow it was saying senior housing located in the LCD must be part of a larger complex of capital S, capital H, senior housing defined facilities, right? So, or one of the 6 senior housing facilities defined, right? Like, I mean, obviously I'm not being very clear, but we're specific that senior housing encompasses housing, assisted living, adult senior care, those types of thing. And I
think that's fine. Yeah.
Open-ended, because you could say lots of things are senior oriented facilities, right? It could be physical therapy offices, it could be a yoga studio. I mean, anything could be senior oriented. I'm just looking for clarity.
Right, so if I added in a complex of senior housing as defined in section 2 and senior oriented facilities, which might, and just add this, because section 2 does define assisted living, continuing care, independent living, long-term care, senior housing. The thing is that we were trying to get away from just the senior housing piece, which is defined here as housing for persons over 55. So we wanted more than just townhouses.
Yes, and I agree 100% with the intent, and I understand the intent. I just think the language isn't very clear for me reading it.
Is it clear? Is it clear now?
Well, it's not clear as a law, no. Because somebody could come in and say, well, it's senior oriented, seniors need this. And
It's a
it's not one of those defined things.
No, what she's changed the language now.
I added this.
Complex of senior housing. Section 2. That's probably better, yeah.
Chris, are we okay with that?
Sure.
This is what, okay. Okay, great. So,
Are these commercial enterprises, the senior housing?
again,
Yes, they are.
and for profit often. Let me just save this as a new thing.
I had another question in the 9.3.5.
Yep, just hold on, let me make sure I'm saving them so I know what I'm doing. Okay, 9.3.5, okay.
Which is providing optional services on site for the conveniences of residents. How do we make sure there doesn't become a tipping point where services outweigh units, or there's too many services in one type of building, or, you know, again, I'm just seeing this as an open-ended,
But this is a site plan review and a special permit.
Special permit, yeah. You can
I
say
understand,
no.
and I do get very concerned when our fallback is special permit, because if people abide by what's written in the bylaw, in appeal, they're gonna, if the special granting authority were to deny it, they could easily appeal it and would probably win. So I'm just trying to be super clear with what we're defining.
What do you suggest?
I don't, you know, I'd have to look at what some other senior housing bylaws have for these types of amenities.
This is what this is based on.
I mean, I think this is a case where we're floating this and we can refine it. We can't, it may not be perfect. I'm sure it isn't perfect. But I am seeing a hand up from a member of the public. The public hearing section of our zoning discussion has closed. So I'm sorry, we're not going to take public comment on the zoning bylaws at this point. We did hold a public hearing on the bylaws. I'm not hearing a specific change. The only change I've had is that one we added above. Any specific changes that any other specific changes people would like to suggest? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to advance the senior housing to Article 10 to town meeting as amended in section 9.3.3.
9.3.1, right?
No, 3.
3.
3, I'm sorry, okay. So moved.
Hold on, just let me get this in here.
Sarah, do we define housing height in the LCD since currently our LCD is all commercial?
Well, this is commercial too.
This would be commercial.
This would be 45 feet.
So, but you can have housing that's not commercial. Assisted living is commercial, just housing is not commercial.
But it would, if it was just housing,
For profit.
it'd be not allowed in the LCD.
Well, I thought that was the intent of adding this, where you wanted it to be housing as part of a larger compound.
So I think height restrictions would have to be interpreted for.
So are you saying that housing, apartment complexes for seniors could go up to 55 feet?
I think we are the ones saying it, not me.
No.
And we-
I didn't mean
height
that.
is restricted in section 5, so we're not making amendments to section 5 in any of our changes. So however, in section 5 would be interpreted in the special permit process, at least my sense would be that would apply. So hard to know what the future application would be, and perhaps there might be, I guess there might be a scenario where a commercial entity had housing that was allowed to be 55 feet, I guess. There's probably a scenario where you could come up with that.
Yeah, so for me, I would say that the intent of building senior housing is getting lost in the way this current bylaw reads. I think this is now becoming a commercial way to get larger housing for senior housing, and I don't know that really fits in with what the original intent was. But I don't have a motion.
Okay. Any other comments? Great, I'll take a motion first to put Article 10 senior housing on the warrant.
I thought I'd moved this already, but I'll move it again.
Oh, maybe you did. I just had the wrong.
Did.
Okay,
Second.
Ron,
Second.
any other discussion about moving this to the warrant? Okay, I'll take a roll call. Chris,
Yes,
Ron,
Yes.
Mary,
No.
Christina,
No.
and I'll vote yes. Okay, so I'll take the next two together. Chris, do I have a motion to move it as presented, as amended, and vote to recommend?
so moved.
Ron?
I'm second.
Okay, any other discussion? Mary,
No.
Christina,
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
Okay, thank you. Chris,
Yes,
Ron?
Yes.
Okay, vote passes 3-2. I vote yes. Okay, we're getting there. So Chris, do you want to explain our thinking? I'm going to stop sharing for a second on this Article 10 residential conservation cluster, on the dilemma we kind of found, we talked through, and the
I mean,
based on public comment.
this
You
is about
did it.
accessory dwelling units.
You mean accessory dwelling units?
Well, accessory dwelling units. So there was Sarah Mellish made an impassioned speech at during the hearing about the number of people who would like to add living space to their residences, which are larger than what the minimum or the maximum is allowed under the proposed accessory dwelling unit provision. And she said a lot of people are employing their mothers, hiring them as employees so they can get into this loophole that allows residences and attached or separate structures for employees. So we were proposing to delete the employee segment of this. We realized that that law has got nothing to do with accessory dwelling units. And so we thought either it should not be deleted, or perhaps even not deleted, and the words "or family member" be added to the employee category. So that, I'm not sure whether that makes any sense at all, frankly. And I don't think I'd vote for the family business. For now, I think this is a matter to be taken up at the next town meeting. However, the possibility of not deleting the provision for employee housing, I think you could make a case that it's nothing to do with accessory dwelling units, and we don't have to delete it either.
So just one other clarification. How did that provision of deleting the accessory use in the table come to be? And that came to be when I was trying to frame these as articles. You know, we had talked about accessory dwelling units, we had a draft, and I looked at it and said, oh, well, we'll get rid of the employee exemption. And that's where it came from. And then we proceeded, and it's been there for weeks. But when Chris and I went back and looked at our existing bylaw, it turns out that the existing employee exemption does not reference the accessory, the section 9.1. So does that make sense? Does that, at least the background, make sense to people?
So you're talking about the by right one, not the by special permit one, correct?
Correct. I can actually, if I think it would be helpful.
This is the 900 square foot. one.
So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. So because I think it's helpful to see, and we checked, and the table is exactly what we have in our current bylaw. So this issue here, accessory dwelling units, this note 12 refers to section 9.1, which is the portion that we're planning to revise. This here, number 7, an accessory use, as part of an existing garage, stable, or other existing structure, family living quarters for an employee or owner occupant, is a ZBA special
permit.
This note 13 does not reference section 9.1, and this is straight out of our old bylaw. So it basically says the same thing, as part of a existing stable, garage, blah, blah, blah. As an accessory use, which we've just defined. So what we realized is that there are two things. There is this accessory use for an employee, and there are accessory dwelling units. And that in our proposed new changes to 9.1, accessory dwelling units that are very small, 900 square feet, are by right. And so we can edit before I editorialize. That's what just so you understand the issue. That's what we're talking about. So does everybody understand the issue we're talking about? Okay. So as we talked about it, we thought, okay, we could amend that use to allow family members. And then I think we did propose in Article 12 to do that. I think now Chris and I both think that needs more thought before we jump whole hard into that. Are we both in agreement on that, Chris? And that we,
Yes, yeah.
okay. So ignore that proposed change, because it needs more thought. It seems what we've got are additions to homes that are outside of the accessory dwelling unit. They're just out there without any regulations, and that we need to take that up in the future or prohibit them, or but what we have been talking about is something different. It's small, by right, for less expensive rentals that could also be used for your employee or your family member or your friend or whomever. So anyway, we wanted to call that out, and I guess our proposal would be to, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, is simply to delete the deletion of the employee exemption and put that very high on our list to address in the future. Would be
Okay.
number one on my list, actually. So make no change to the employee exemption and have our, and then we can talk about our changes to the 9.1. So that is our first proposal, is that we just delete the deletion of that accessory use from 9.1. Okay, does that make sense to people?
Do you have it to put on the screen?
I will, yep. I'm not going to cross it out because it makes it harder to read. So our proposed, this is what we've had for a number of weeks, which is why we, and like I said, it arrived in this draft article by me, because I thought it made sense, but now I realize it does not, in my opinion. But before we take it out, we wanted to bring it forward. So our proposal is to delete lines 7, 8, and 9 from the draft article, whatever this one is, 11. So Chris, do you want to make a motion to that effect?
Yeah, I'll move that we delete section 7, 8, and 9 from the
Line
Article
7, 8,
11.
9. Yep. Okay, and I'll second that. Okay, discussion. Mary, go ahead.
Yeah, could you just clarify, so it has been deleted for a long time and it seemed fine in that stance. And so why was it fine, a week ago and not fine now? What, I know Sarah Mellish of the ZBA said she had, these 5 that came in front of the ZBA, and I believe they were all approved. So I'm not clear what the rationale is to add it back in that we haven't covered in what we're currently doing.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. My rationale originally for putting it in here was I thought this was a accessory use related to section 9.1. And we've been trying, and it is not. It maybe should be. And I feel that accessory use number 7 needs regulations. And maybe those regulations are to fold them into the accessory dwelling unit provisions. As they currently stand, it is not referring to 9.1. That's why we wanted to call this out and suggest that, we have been operating with this little 3 lines, 2 lines actually, or whatever it is, as basically the special permit for employee apartments. So another option would be to amend. I mean, there are lots of ways. So I think Chris and I think that it should be at the very least a separate article so that it could be debated. It'd be hard to explain it, but nonetheless. And given the complexity of everything we're trying to do, that it needs to be addressed, but maybe this town meeting is not the time to address this particular accessory use. Is that fair? Am I making self clear?
Kind of, yeah, no, and I agree. So is that added back in the, is that in the updated now use table? And all the language, well, we don't even have that much language in our current bylaws that pertain to that.
Let me just, and so the use table is exactly what I just showed you previously. And Chris and I did talk about removing this use or amending this use in our discussion of section 4 in that article, but felt that was kind of sneaky, so to speak, because we've been maintaining that section 4 reflected our current zoning. So if we were to make what some people might think is a big change to section 4 in its adoption, without, it could bog down or even torpedo the use table. And we don't want to do that. We want that use table to come forward, to happen. So-
Yes, I think I had pointed out that that we were conflating two bylaws. I'm just wondering if something else happened that, because I think when I brought it up, nothing changed. So I'm just wondering what changed now.
I understood the issue now,
Okay.
and it before.
We're taking your advice, Mary.
Oh, gee.
No, it's true. I didn't understand it. I believed that it was that existing provision was linked to 9.1, and you are right, it is not.
Okay.
So I would say that at the very least, if we wanted to delete that accessory use, we should make it a separate article. I have checked with Alan, and we can, based on public comment, muck with this in any way we want. So I think Chris and I are making a motion to delete the line 7, 8. Chris made a motion to delete 7, 8, 9 from our draft article 11. So we have, and I seconded it. Let me also just clarify that in this case, we are including the full text of the ADU bylaw, because it's only a couple pages, in the warrant for two reasons. One, is only a couple of pages. And secondly, it is sufficiently been out there in conversation that we wanted to make sure people really, we weren't trying to rely on a summary to notice the public about the issue. So that's why this one says Article 11, and it will say, I believe my PDF says, to be moved as printed in the warrant would be the motion, which is different than the others, which will have a summary article and motions. Okay, hopefully that was clear. Okay, so we have a motion to delete line 7, 8, 9 from our draft article 11. Any other discussion? Okay, Chris,
Yes,
Mary,
Yes.
Christina,
The motion is just to remove this language?
yes.
Okay, yes.
Ron?
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay. Let me just strike that. Okay, great. Let me save that. May 23rd. Okay, so now we have before us Article 11, accessory dwelling units as amended. Any other proposed amendments? Mary, go ahead. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Something that we had just added, the 9.1.2.2, where it says the ADU shall be contained within the residential structures, not in a detached building, and we added use the existing driveway entrance. I would like to add as the curb cut. I don't know that that's clear, just saying and use the existing driveway entrance.
Okay.
I thought we were changing curb cuts to driveway entrances. I thought that was the change.
I think we are using them in the general bylaws a little. We use both words. So,
I thought we were eliminating that curb cut language.
yeah. Any objections to that change? All right, hearing them, let's accept that change. Mary, go ahead.
And then the other one was number 5. It says meet the setback requirements of the district. I would like to add meet the primary dwelling setback requirements, because that might be implied that all it needs to meet is the accessory.
Okay, any objections to that addition?
Oh, it's a good one.
Okay, good. Okay, any other changes? Mary?
No, sorry, I'm just trying to lower my hand.
That's hard. Okay, great. I will, just wanted to, we actually already had, added that last time as well, but I think that's fine. We had the primary dwelling in the district. Okay, great. Let me just save that. So I will take a motion to advance Article 11 ADUs as amended tonight, to town meeting.
So moved.
Okay, hold on, I'm just gonna, we're gonna. And, okay, and then this one. Okay, Chris, do I have a second? Ron?
Yep, second.
Okay, any other discussion about advancing this article to town meeting? Hearing none, Mary,
No,
Christina,
No,
Chris,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes,
and I vote yes. Okay, and I'll take a motion to move as printed in the warrant and to recommend. Chris,
So moved.
Ron,
yes,
um,
second.
okay, Christina,
no,
Mary,
no,
Chris,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, great. Any other, let's just, so the warrant, the draft warrant was in our packet, summary, and the only changes that have come in is some typos, which we will fix. Any other matters? We will, Ron and I talked today about, we will post one meeting. It might be the morning of town meeting, might be the best time, I'm not sure. To just address any changes. Let's say town council looks at something and says you should amend something in the following way. Maybe a couple days before, I'm not sure. We'll have to look at the calendar to address any sort of last minute changes that we become aware of from, something. So, Mary, go ahead. Give your hand up.
I just wanted to ask if you would add to your list for future items. With these proposed bylaw changes, there's some obvious ones that we haven't tackled, like the floodplain overlay, which
Floodplain is on my list, yeah.
was, the state changed it 2 years ago. That would have been an easy one to hit. I don't know why we didn't. There was one more, but I don't have it in front of me.
I'll make a folder on the shared drive that we can all add things to. But I have a list. I'm not sure I can pull it up right this second, but I just added floodplain to the one from tonight. So, yep. And then this employee housing. Okay.
It's employee housing.
The accessory use 7 that we just talked about, or 6, whichever was the one we just discussed. Okay, any other things before, I guess I'll take a motion to allow, to allow Chris and Sue and me to prepare slides for town meeting and do our best to put them up as we did for the public hearing in advance of the meeting for comments.
Yeah, also, Sarah, there's that, we'll call it flyer, a postcard.
Yeah, I was gonna come to that in a second.
Okay.
So let's just prepare materials for town meeting. Chris and Sue and I will do that. I guess let me just ask, is there any objection to that? We will do our best to get it draft to you in advance. Hopefully, I know Mary made some comments, very helpful on the last presentation. I think we're envisioning something that looks similar, and we'll fix the issue of employee housing on the ADU slide for sure. But I guess let me ask, is there any objection to that? Or if certainly if anybody wants to help out, let us know. Chris, you want to talk about the postcard?
Yeah, so I think Greg has offered to pay for mailing out a flyer or something to the whole town and to let them know about the town meeting and what we're doing. And so we put together a very simple postcard. And it has on it a QR code so you can scan it on your phone, which takes you right to the website on recodification and reminds everybody about the meeting date and so forth. And can you show it, Sarah? There's a draft floating around.
Probably, hold on. Just while I'm getting that. The other thing is that the motions will be on the website, as well as probably the public hearing. I can't seem to show it right now. I don't have it, Chris.
You don't?
Well, I do, but I don't know where it is. I can look for it while we take up some other things that, oh, here we go.
Mm.
I got it.
Yeah, there we go.
This will go to postal customers.
Can I suggest it also be published in the Cricket?
Sure.
And social media too.
I think the idea is good, but I think should there be more leeway for modest changes to buildings that are not in compliance with zoning regulations? I think that's really, it's not really true. It's not more leeway. It's by right, and it's 100% changes. So I think that's deceiving.
Do you have some alternate language you'd like to propose?
Well, I'm seeing this for the first time and I've read it. And so that's my first jump out. So I would like to comment on it, but I need some time to look at it.
Okay,
Could this be sent to all the planning board members?
sure.
Okay, we can send this along. But it'd be helpful to get specific suggested changes.
I mean, this doesn't, I mean, there's no by right talked about here at all. No one knows. 50% of the population, I bet, doesn't even know what that means. So it seems like we're trying to not bring that to the front of this. And I think that's also misleading.
Okay, well, welcome alternate language.
So I guess the intention of the white box is to try to give some sense of the topics in an engaging way. So the problem is we're talking about complex, and we're trying to get people to educate themselves by going to the website, not use the postcard to be the education medium, right? So
so is there somewhere else that's giving people a synopsis of every by right change that's being proposed?
Yes, if you, go to the website or go or scan that QR code and it'll take you right to the website.
and the website will have the full language of these motions that we have approved tonight.
I just don't think that, is it different language that hasn't been written yet? Or you're going to the website that's there now?
That's there now.
Well, it's going to get modified with we have draft articles there now. draft by section. And we're gonna have to revise it so that we have the motions for town meeting, because town meeting is a different, you know, organization. Town meeting, as you know, it's not, we're not organizing our articles by section, trying to be as, and the reason for that is that they're interrelated. You have to do one before you do the other, so that to the extent possible, they will stand on their own. So, so certainly we can send this out, and if you have proposed language changes, send them along. Chris, do we have a time frame on when we want to try to get this out?
It's gonna take 4 or 5 days to get them printed and mailed, so the sooner we can get this finalized, the better.
Okay. So I think input is welcome, but does anybody feel like we need to have another meeting to finalize this? Or can we give Chris?
I can't really see the language, but I think we would have to make some assumption that probably a lot of people won't go to the website, so they're going to get their snippets of information from this, and that we need to be clear whatever's on here. But again, I can't really read it, so it's too small.
Yeah, that's the best I can do. We'll
we
send
do-
it out. Let me ask the question, do we need are you comfortable with us editing it with your input, or are we going to try to do this in some sort of, you know, what I'm trying to avoid is this, you know, feeling that people don't, you know, feel like they haven't had input, or that it needed to be a board vote. So I'm asking if we can hear from you without input. Hear from all of us about input. I have a couple thoughts, and then and similarly on the website, if you have specific suggestions about how to improve the website, please send them along. So I'm hearing that we do not need another meeting, I hope. Okay.
I mean, I don't know, but I mean, if people's changes are incorporated, I wouldn't think we would need one.
I think I can't guarantee that everybody's changes are going to be incorporated, but I think we will certainly listen to your input for sure. I mean, if we don't all agree, it's hard to, but we've heard that you want more specificity, or that the words by right might want to be in there. So I think we can do that.
Do we just give the QR code and not make any comments?
That's
Say,
another
here it is.
option that gives people less information.
Do we need to editorialize on the, with the, I don't know, just thinking out loud.
I mean, if you don't want to have if you feel that language is biased, then that's the safest way, is to say, go to the website.
Yeah, I mean, I would vote to stay away from editorializing and just do facts. So. But again, I couldn't read the language, so I don't know which one it's doing.
Which says, how do we manage growth in coming years? What kind of town do we want? I'm not sure we're addressing that in our changes, but nonetheless, should the town provide, this is Erica Brown helped us with this. So should the town provide greater diversity of residential options? Should the town allow senior housing and assisted living? Should the rules for creating in-law apartments, I think I'd call them accessory dwelling units, be relaxed? Should there be more leeway for modest changes to buildings that are not in compliance with zoning regulations?
I mean, modest,
Those
additions.
questions are what should have been asked before we started this. I mean, why are we asking questions?
Well, I guess it was a bad idea, but I was trying to get people interested in going to the website and to come to the town meeting, but if you got a better way, that's what you probably do, that's fine.
Well,
Maybe we should just take them off. Let's just take them off
Mhm.
and just give them, tell them the date of the meeting and let them go to the website.
Yeah, we could maybe list the topics.
Well, I
Yeah.
was just trying to make this a little more collaborative, but again, I can't read it, so I'm just kind of saying, but the we should be giving solutions, not asking questions. But again, I'll take a look at it.
Okay. Well, so specific suggestions would be most helpful. Okay, that's the update with, I'm
Yes,
gonna,
I guess I want to express my concern here. I hear that Erica Brown has come up with this and we're like kind of being,
No, I came up with it. It's mine.
yeah,
It
Okay,
is
Chris.
mine, all mine.
this is the first time I have seen it. I'm being asked for suggestions and people outside the planning board have seen it, come up with it, give suggestions before planning board members. I'm a bit offended, to be honest.
I think that's to lay it out so it looks, sorry, Chris, not like a Word document, and it looks like
That's all right.
that's the graphic design. That's it. That's all.
And that's fine, and I hear that, and I take my words back, but for me not to see this and being asked to, like, on the fly, does it look okay? Don't know why we couldn't have seen it early this morning to be able to comment on it today.
You know what, we've been working ourselves hours on this stuff to try to get.
I only saw it in this form at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Well,
Yeah.
that was 2 more hours than everybody else.
Well, okay, enough. I think we will send this out for comments. Let's get comments back in the next 24 hours, if you don't mind, so we can get this finalized. Okay, Ron, back to you.
Just one last thing was this, I thought we might put a letter in the Cricket from the planning board. Maybe those questions could be in our letter. And I was wondering if the planning board would be interested in signing a letter to the residents to, get out to special town meeting and vote these changes or let their opinions be known. So my thought was to have in addition to the card, a planning board letter. And I was throwing that out there for thoughts.
Sure, and just so you know, I've been writing a couple of articles. There's an article
Okay.
coming out, I think, this week about another one about zoning. But it's just from me, not the planning board, so.
I think it'd be great to have a letter from you, Ron, as the
I-
chair, to encourage people to come to town meeting.
I agree, I think it'd be a good idea, absolutely.
Okay, just signed by me. We don't want to have everyone's in.
Well, Signed on behalf of all of us, I think. I mean, I think
Okay, so do I have permission to do that?
To encourage people to come to the meeting,
mhm.
I would give you permission to do that, but I'm not sure what else, is that all it's gonna say?
Yeah, well, planning board's been working hard for the past 4 years. A little bit of history and then a little bit of encouragement to come out and to get the information, come out and voice your opinion. That style of writing. No editorializing, but more of a encouragement.
Then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I would say if it's kind of a get out and vote viewpoint, but I think it couldn't be represented as, come out and vote for the articles that the planning board supports, because there's been some differing opinions on those, if these should move forward or that we support them. So I don't want it to be portrayed as if all of the board is on, in agreement with all of these.
I think that we took votes that very clearly show that we have majority support of the articles, and I think that's a fair, majority is different than unanimous, so. So I think, Ron, go ahead and write a letter, it'd be great.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Sarah. So while we've been meeting, Sue Brown has taken sick. She can't attend this. She's not feeling well right now. So the next item up was these blasting guidelines, which she wrote and were in the packet. So I move that we, without her here to explain that, I would move that we pass over that item tonight. Unless somebody has, wants to vote them, feels strongly that we can go ahead and vote them.
My only thought about them as I read through them again is it might be useful just to run them by somebody who does blasting and or the building inspector at the very least, to make sure that maybe the building inspector is a better unbiased source, just to make sure that I thought the time frames might be quite burdensome for a developer or for anybody, but they only apply to very large projects, so maybe it's not a problem.
So I think the questions I had, I said the board, but it didn't say what board. Like, who is the board? Is it planning board, CBA? Like, it wasn't clear in there.
Okay, so we should
And
get
then,
a comment to her.
and then
What
the other
about
thing
running
is-
it by the fire chief also, I guess?
Mhm.
Although I think he's on board with this, but. Okay,
And I know we called out one chemical. I mean, is there other chemicals? I'm not a blasting expert that we should have made note of. That's all. Those were my only 2 comments on that.
well, you were charged with taking this on. I think Sue took it over, so.
I think it was collaborative, but thanks, Ron.
Okay. So I'll pass it over till our next meeting and get these questions answered. The next item, so the select board would like an opinion on this land taking, this Holleran Land Trust approval. It needs the endorsement from the planning board to be presented at special town meeting. And I know Sue's not here, but Chris, I think you've vetted this.
Yeah, I did. And this is a very simple matter about some land that was owned by the Holleran family, and the Hollerans wanted to donate it to the Affordable Housing Trust, but there was some sort of a clouded deed. And so to resolve it, town council suggested that the town do a friendly taking for no money and donate the land to the Affordable Housing Trust for affordable housing purposes. And so the report is simply outlines the facts of the case, and the Affordable Housing Trust did vote last week to accept the property should it be taken, and to endorse the taking by the town. And I
Becky,
see
you have your
there's
hand up.
some-
Hi, thank you, Ron. I just wanted to reiterate what Chris said, that this is a friendly taking. And this is not an aggressive thing in any way. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary?
Thank you. Obviously, it sounds good. But could you give some further clarity of, so I'm assuming if it's Affordable Housing Trust land, they can only put affordable housing units on that land. Is that correct?
It's not that, no, the Holleran gift would be that the Affordable Housing Trust use the property for affordable housing purposes. So that's a little bit vaguer than having to put affordable housing on it. And that could be, for example, I suppose we could turn around and sell it to an abutter and use the money to support affordable housing. Or we could make a neighborhood park out of it in support of the renovation of the units at Loading Place. This is something, this is new to us too. And it's, I think our plan is to sit down with the neighborhood and figure out what the best way to use the land would be.
Could you put market rate housing on there to support affordable housing units on the current Loading Place land?
Possible, I guess. Yeah, probably possible. I'm not sure that's the best solution, but
So it's currently kind of getting this land, but we don't know quite what for yet.
I think that's fair to say, yes.
Do you know what the topography or the, it's very wet over there? Is
I
it?
believe there's some wetland, yes, and a portion of it, but most of it apparently is upland, wooded area, fairly level, possibly buildable. We haven't really had it evaluated to know, but
Because I did notice there's a big pond between the current Affordable Housing Trust land and that land. So I don't know.
Housing authority land, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Ms. Jakes?
I thank you again, Chair. It is currently landlocked. And the value of the property is $10,000. So it's got no frontage as it is.
Any further discussion?
Ron, I'm sorry, I did not state Becky Jakes from the Select Board. Sorry about that.
I think we knew that, but thank you. All right, any further discussion?
I'll make a motion to support the selectmen's taking of the parcel on 2 Loading Place Road, on the Halloran parcel off of Loading Place Road, I guess is that.
Actually, what we're doing is submitting a report to town meeting, which is what we're required to do for any taking.
So I'll change that to maybe we can use Greg Fetterspiel's letter of as our report and vote to support Greg's letter in support of explaining the Halloran parcel as our report to the town meeting and move to support it.
There actually is a report.
There,
that's
yeah,
drafted.
report's in the folder.
All right.
And there's a resident, I think, that has their hand up. Are we taking questions, Ron?
Excuse me?
There was a resident that had their hand up.
Well, we're not taking, go ahead. You have a comment, Miss Carolyn?
Yes, so this supposed land taking going to be voted on June 11th, the special meeting? Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and then that the residents will be able to voice their opinions about that so-called land taking at that point then?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So there's a motion. Could you restate your motion, Sarah?
I move that we accept the report by the planning board draft report to the I believe it's 2022 special June town meeting regarding the taking of land off Forest Avenue for affordable housing as written.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
So I guess I would like to ask Chris, if it's not appropriate, to ask the resident, did you hear any concerns at the Affordable Housing Trust meeting that you had?
No.
Is it appropriate, Ron, to ask? I mean, if there are concerns, I would like to know about them before town meeting. I think that's wise.
Well, we have a motion to approve the report.
Okay.
I think I need to amend my motion to find, this is the bottom of that report, find the land off Forest Lane and abutting to Loading Place Road is appropriate for the support for affordable housing. The board therefore recommends approve the land taking from the Halloran Family Trust and the transfer of such land to the Manchester Affordable Housing Trust. That's the language at the bottom of the report.
I accept your
Okay, so
amendment.
you're offering a friendly amendment to your motion.
Yes, and I think Christina's accepting that.
Okay, Sharon, do you have that? I hope.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Is there a second? Oh, Christina, you seconded. Any further discussion? I'll take a roll call. Ms. Creighton,
Yes.
Ms. Delicio,
Yes,
Ms. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Only,
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Thank you. So do we need to, Rebecca, do we need to give you a formal, or is this good enough? Do we need, I know you're meeting tomorrow.
If somebody could shoot over an email representing the board's vote, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ron, could
Thank
we
you.
hear from the resident if there is a concern? I'm just would like to know.
He just asked a couple of questions.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd just like to say one more thing.
Could you identify yourself?
Matt Bergeron, I live on Forest Lane.
Yeah.
None of the abutters were notified about about this land taking. My neighbors on Forest Lane or anybody on Loading Place Road. So this is the first we heard of it. Was in a newspaper article the other day. And everybody was taken by surprise. So there is a lot of concern. And I'm sure it will be spelled out over the next few weeks or days. That's all. Thank you for listening to my comment.
Thank you. Okay. Like to move.
I would just second that concern as a resident of Loading Place Road and the closest abutter. I wrote a letter to Greg Fetterspiel. It was the first time it came up, and while I can appreciate.
Excuse me, could you
I'm sorry.
identify yourself and tell us, and you haven't gotten permission to speak?
I'm sorry.
Could you? Now, go ahead and could you tell the board your name and address, please?
Sure. My name is Mark Irose. I live at 10 Loading Place Road. I'm the closest abutter to the current Manchester housing property, and I'm almost abutter to the new lot. And I just echo the other concerns that this came out of left field. And it is a little startling that it moved so rapidly to make it to the town meeting. And that all of a sudden it's going to perhaps alter the overall plan for affordable housing in a way that would develop that piece of property, which is surrounded by other Essex County Land Trust property. So I just echo the concern that it seems to have come out of nowhere very quickly and will make it onto the town meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is approval of regular minutes, and I have minutes from 4/11 that were in our packet. Have those not been approved, Sharon? Is that why they're in there?
No, they haven't been approved yet.
Okay, I did notice in reading them at the end, they're called minuets. There was a spelling change. It went from minutes to minuets or something at the end. You can kind of. Any other comments has the board reviewed them? Any other comments from the board on the 4/11 minutes? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve them as amended with the spelling checks.
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion. Roll call, Ms. Creighton,
Yes.
Ms. Delicio,
Yes.
Ms. Foley,
Yes,
Mr. Olney.
Yes,
The chair votes yes. Now, last meeting, we had some meetings from March that were kind of still not approved. Were those the 321 minutes? Am I correct?
No, those were approved.
They were. So there was nothing from March. I thought there was something that
There's
Sarah and
328.
Laura were gonna
There were-
rewrite.
The 328 minutes,
Okay, so they're still outstanding, correct?
correct.
Okay.
Can you put those in the packet for our next meeting, please? Or anything that be great. Thank you.
Okay, so our next meeting, as Sarah has mentioned, we have it scheduled on June 6th, which is a Monday at 6:30. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sharon, as a possible changes to warrant articles. So we will, I will, if we decide to meet, I'll let everybody know. We'll let everyone know. And we've also scheduled a 9 a.m. meeting on the day of special town meeting. If, again, just in case something comes up and we need to meet. So keep those dates in mind. Then, since the board's been so hardworking, I was thinking of if we don't have anything major coming in on the June 13th meeting as a possible cancellation, and then meet again on June 27th. So those were my thoughts on future meetings.
Ron, could you just clarify, you said the morning of the 11th, what was the meeting potentially before that? The 31st?
The 6th,
yes.
June 6th and June 11.
Gotcha, okay.
I think we're anticipating if we have any, town council or any immediate changes that we need to amend the motions. Not for general business. Am I correct, Ron?
Correct. Those will not be general unless there's something pressing. Regarding the Hamilton Chewbacca Road, Hamilton, it was supposed to come before us tonight, but Hamilton has decided to pave the road near Gravelly Pond. So it's a little disappointing, but that's what's happened. So it's not before us to make the switch.
Ron, do you know if they've met with our Water Resource Protection Committee?
Nope, they have not met with us.
Nobody in the town.
That I don't know, but I know they haven't met with the water resource, not our group yet, so.
Or the Board of Selectmen? That's our land. right?
I don't know if they met with the select board or not. I think, I don't know, Ann or Rebecca, can you comment on that? Ann Harrison? You're on mute.
I understand. They have not met with the Board of Selectmen. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. Rebecca?
Unfortunately, they have to go forward, and they have the right to do this because they have a right of way. They have to use the money now, or they lose the money that's helping them repave. So it's well within their rights to do this. They plan to, and they had hoped to come back before the town regarding moving the road again. But they don't have the time to do that anymore. They plan to cant the road away from the pond. Hopefully that will help.
Ron, can I
Thank
ask
you.
another question?
Yes, you may.
To Becky or to Ann? Is the town being proactive on this as opposed to reactive? I believe that is the portion closest to the pond is Manchester-owned land, though in Hamilton. Can the town be proactive and make a case for our watershed?
That's why they brought it before us before, for exactly that reason, for the watershed, and proposed moving it farther away specifically for that purpose. They do have a right of way to this. That's just what it is. They are trying to address our concerns. My understanding is they have spoken with Concom, but it's a right of way. When you say proactive, Mary, what is it you mean by that?
Well, because I think in our in the what's the term? So not in the document when we acquired that land. So I can't think of the document name now. It says for the protection of our watershed, and it should remain as a, and I don't know if it specifically says as a gravel road, but it should remain kind of as is and not change. And this would be a change, so I'm wondering if the town has kind of a leg to stand on in that regard. I'd have to find the actual paragraph.
I thought that part was already paved. What they're doing is, yes, well within their rights to do so, but if you wanted to check, Greg has more in-depth information on that. And I'd ask him on that.
Okay.
But Hamilton did want to come back and try to discuss this again, but they just simply have unfortunately run out of time. So given that they are going to do what they're able to try to improve the situation from what it currently is. But yeah, definitely ask Greg and probably Chuck Dam would have further information on that as well. He's got a lot of good info on that.
Yeah, because just knowing our PFAS numbers, I mean, gravelly isn't bad, but you start doing the fire
Right.
foam and oil, yeah. Okay.
Well,
Thank
and
you.
again, that's why they wanted to move it farther away to address these needs. So unfortunately, it's
Voted down by town.
all right. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Just so before we adjourn, I just want to give a shout out to both Chris and Sarah, who worked so hard for getting this recodification out and done and language to the public. They've really spent a lot of time, a lot of homework, a lot of stuff. So just a big shout out to them. And at least for me, thank you. It took a lot of work away from me, which was appreciated. And I thought they did a great job. So just wanted to recognize that.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
With that said, I'd like to just take a motion to adjourn.
Ron, I just have a quick comment. I'm a little concerned about that we just had this report written about this land taking, and we find out after the fact that people were concerned about this. I guess if Greg had received some things and the town prepared this report for us, I feel a little misled that we didn't have the whole picture. So I just want to express that. I think this was quick. These things to always happen last minute, 2 weeks, a week before meeting. And after the fact, we're hearing that people are concerned after we voted it for it. I don't know why we didn't get the whole picture. So I guess maybe Ms. Jakes, were you aware of concerns?
If I may, Ron.
Yes, Rebecca.
No,
Okay.
I saw this. I saw this was brought to our attention, put on the agenda, but no, haven't heard anything.
I think it sounds like a great idea, but I didn't realize that we weren't notifying abutters. Thank you.
Right, right. And to your point, Christina, I do think that, and I know that not always abutters have to be notified, but I think it is a courtesy. So I agree with you on that.
Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn. Has it been seconded?
Second.
It's great.
Yes.
Mr. Licio,
Yes.
Ms. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Olney.
Yes.
Hey, thank you all. See you at town meeting.